Hello, this is Peter Renwick from Follow Your Bliss Life Coaching, and I'm here today to talk about why I think I am stronger today. I'm stronger today because I am the culmination of all that I have experienced. Knowing this, believing it in my heart, gives me strength and confidence. Everything I have read, heard, seen, felt, everything I have ever experienced is all a part of me now. How I choose to use these experiences will determine the quality of my day. And isn't that ultimately what we're trying to do? Positively impact the quality of our day. I think the most important thing to do that is to develop a positive attitude. It is my attitude that will determine who I am and what I experience on a daily basis. Well, this is not a secret, and we've all heard quotes about attitude, and we recognize when we have a good attitude or when we have a bad attitude. I still think it's very important to understand the gravity of what it means to be aware of our attitude and to try and have the best attitude and to use that attitude, that positive attitude, to affect the quality of our day, to make our day that much better. Or in the case of negative attitudes, we realize that often unconsciously we affect the quality of our day in a very negative way, and we'll go through the day with a bad attitude and experience things in the world in a very different way than if we had that positive attitude. So ultimately, putting this into this very important philosophy, if you will, a life philosophy into practice is going to be a lot more challenging when we have struggles in our life. So when we recognize that there are difficulties, that things are hard for us in our life, whatever those challenges might be, it's that much more important to develop a positive attitude. And it can be challenging, there's no question about it. So I think it's important, it's most important when we have those challenges that we're facing, that we recognize that we have to work. It's an effort on our part to find the best attitude in that moment. And it's going to be in that moment that we're going to experience the benefit of that. So how might we go about doing this? I think that the first thing that we need to do is to become consciously aware of our attitude, of our thinking, of what's happening in our minds that's impacting the way that we feel. So we have to first recognize that it is a train of thought that's dictating how we're feeling. If we just unconsciously allow our thoughts and our attitudes to dictate how we feel and we're not taking control of them, then we're going to be at the whim of that attitude or those thoughts that are not within our control. So it's recognizing what it is that we're thinking that will often dictate how we move forward. And we say, oh, I'm in a great train of thought. I really feel good. I'm going to accentuate this train of thought. Or, I really don't have the best train of thought right now, and I need to change that. So if we're fostering that stinking thinking, is an expression that is often used, then no doubt we're going to feel lousy. We're going to be uncomfortable in our situation. We're going to feel angry potentially. And all the different examples of things that might be happening to us. And some of the greatest ones are, when we're in our car and we're in a traffic jam and we get really, really aggravated about that. And then recognize maybe a shift in our train of thought that we're not going to be late. We don't have to be somewhere so quickly, that we're sitting in a very comfortable car and we have the potential to put on the radio or listen to a book, listen to one of our favorite CDs, And now all of a sudden our whole mood changes, we relax, and in fact we can enjoy that. And that's a challenge. We all have been in traffic, but how we think about it, if we think it's the worst thing that's ever happened, why are they doing the construction on that particular day, then we're going to get ourselves more agitated. We're going to physically feel lousy. And our whole experience, that hour-long drive, might just be one, of misery, whereas it might be tempered a little bit if we changed our attitude. So, it's not likely that we're going to always change the situation as a result of our thinking, but we're going to change the way that we feel about it. We're going to change, our own experience of that particular situation. And of course, there's hundreds of different examples that could come up. So once we do that and we recognize that we are having a particular train of thought, then we have to change that train of thought. We have to actually come up with a different way that we're experiencing something. And that's work. So by doing that work, though, we have that real potential benefit of changing the experience. So recognize how you're feeling, what you're thinking that might be bringing about that feeling, and then change that to a much more positive. Another way that we can do it is we can put things in perspective. Using the example again in the car, what's the worst that's going to happen? Well, it might be that you're going to be late. It might be that you're going to be late for the dream job that you have. Well, traffic is traffic. Most likely you can make a phone call these days, or when you get there, explain what happened. And most people will understand that traffic does happen, and that's not going to impact, in a worst case scenario, you being late to an interview. So putting things in perspective, recognizing, very often it's sometimes just saying, like, I'm not going to the hospital right now. I don't feel like I'm having a heart attack right now. It's traffic. So putting things in perspective will often make these experiences, a little bit more in perspective, if you will. And they're not as large as we might think they are if we allow our thinking to go unchecked. So we can recognize our own thinking and recognize that we often make it worse with the way that we think. In the same way, we can turn it around and make things more positive. Think about things that are going to bring, a sense of joy to our heart. And that comes, with this sense of gratitude. Try and find things that you can be grateful for. Very rarely do we feel lousy about ourselves or about our situation when we truly have gratitude in our heart. And that needs to be cultivated sometimes. Sometimes we just have to point out to ourselves what it is that we're grateful for in our life. And if that is a difficult thing to do, then that's a practice that you can try when things are going well, so that you can remind yourself, I'm going to remind myself about my family, my children, my pets, going on vacation next month, having been on vacation and all that I experienced. So find a way to develop gratitude in your heart so that you can then turn that negative thinking around. It's really building a mental muscle if you look at it that way. You're actually using your mind to better your thoughts, to improve your thoughts, so that you are then feeling better, because that's what happens. The way that we feel is most often a direct result of the way that we're thinking and how we're thinking about a situation. So after you do that, and you've kind of come up with, some really good things to think about, and you're feeling a little bit better, it's very positive to think about what's the next best action. Could be turning on that CD so that you listen to that CD you haven't listened to in a long time. It could be to call a friend, using support systems like your family, your friends, support groups that might understand the challenges that you're going through. These are all great next steps to allow you to feel, again, like you're in a supportive environment, that people understand what's going on with you. You can vent if you want to, but really you just need to make that conscious decision that you're going to do something, take action as a result of what you've been thinking and the improved thinking that you're having, and now you're building it into your day. You're actually taking that positive action to make you feel better, and then the thoughts, oh, now I feel good about the action that I'm going to take, and everything starts to kind of ascend, right? And we all know the opposite of that spiral, which is when you feel lousy and you allow your thoughts to dictate. You're not conscious of those thoughts. Thoughts just come in, and you beat yourself up, and you feel guilt or fear or worry, anxiety, and all those things spiral you down. So now you're consciously taking control of your thoughts, and ultimately you're going to feel better. And when you take action on those better thoughts, now you're really emphasizing and building up that. So ultimately, I think that attitude is everything. It's an expression I've heard. I've used it a lot. I've seen it on different T-shirts or things like that. But I felt it was important to talk about our attitudes and how our attitudes really dictate how we feel. And why I say I feel better today, why I'm stronger today, is because I've got the culmination of all of my experiences and the way that I look at them, the attitude that I have about them today makes me stronger today. And I choose that, as opposed to choosing to look at the challenges and to look at the things that are in my life that are difficult, and allow them to dictate how I feel, and then ultimately how I act, which might not be in the best way, right? We all have coping mechanisms when we feel lousy. So develop the coping mechanisms to make yourself feel better. So when you hold on to a good attitude, I believe that you are stronger. Each and every day that you experience a good attitude, you get better and better at it. You develop gratitude easier, and your life improves on a daily basis, on a moment-to-moment basis. The better the attitude in that moment, the more you're going to feel better about yourself and about your situation. And ultimately, and for a talk for another day, all we ever experience is this moment. So if you have a good attitude in this moment, you're going to feel better in this moment. It's going to carry to the next. So I do absolutely wish you a positive attitude-filled day today. I hope that you have wonderful experiences and you recognize that you are in control of what you think and ultimately what you feel. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more about Follow Your Bliss life coaching, go to followyourblисslc.com. And I look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great day.